Thank you very much indeed, Clive. I will ring the bell to commence the meeting, as is our tradition. Welcome to everybody. Now, we have a lot of special, well, all our visitors are special, but there are a few visitors I'd like to highlight early in the meeting. We have visitors from abroad, but we also have our visitors from abroad now come to UK. And I would ask Rajiv, if he can, to introduce our global scholars.
Well, thank you, President David. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our two global scholars. Global scholars in the true sense of the word. Starting with Martha. Martha has a BA in International Studies from Texas. She's also studied in Spain, and now she's studying conflict studies at the London School of Economics. Also today we have with us Charles. Charles has a master's degree in law from Antwerp and was a member of the European Youth Parliament. Charles is studying law at King's College. I would like to, on behalf of the Rotary Club of London, wish you both a successful and enjoyable stay here. And most importantly, you are now in our Rotary family and in our Rotary care. Anytime you need help, you know Sabrina and me are here. Also, we are all linked on a WhatsApp group. So without further ado, over to Martha to say a few words, and followed by Charles. Martha.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you to everyone else for welcoming me into the Rotary family in London. Like Rajiv said, I'm originally from Texas. I am actually Guatemalan, so both of my parents' family are from Guatemala. And I am excited to continue my studies at the London School of Economics, where I'll be studying conflict studies. And prior to that, I worked a few years in Washington, D.C., and I worked in the International Development Agency for the U.S. So I'm excited to continue learning about that, and I hope to kind of focus my career in counter-violent extremism work and to work with vulnerable communities who are in conflict countries or conflict zones.
Thank you very much, Martha. Charles, are you able to unmute and take over?
Yes, of course. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone can understand me. I would like to thank Mr. Rajiv for the very kind introduction, and I would like to thank all of you for welcoming me. It's very nice to meet you, although it's online. Like I said, I am Charles-Henri Miseres. It's spoken in French, but if it's easier for you, you can all say Charles Henry or Charles or Charlie. I can hear it all, so that's perfect for me. I am 23 years old. I am from Antwerp, which is located in Belgium, in the Flemish-speaking part, Flanders. Antwerp is quite famous for its diamond industry, and of course, Belgium is famous for its chocolates and famous beers. I came to London this year to achieve an LLM in International Business Law at King's College London. I had wished I could tell you more about my dissertation subject by now, but I'm sorry, but a decision has yet to be made about our dissertation subject, so I hope I can keep you up to date about that. Mr. Rajiv also asked us to tell you a special story about ourselves, and I was thinking about that yesterday, and I came up with the following story, partly due to my interest in football. When I was 11 or 12 years old, I was playing on an international football tournament in Brussels with my team, which wasn't that good, to be honest. And it was really an international football competition. So we played against teams as Moscow, Hamburg, PSG, Ajax, And last but not least, also Anderlecht from Belgium. For your information, Anderlecht is a team where Vincent Kompany is currently the manager. I think you may all know him. And it was also with that team of RSC Anderlecht that we shared our dressing room, obviously in non-COVID-19 times. And I particularly remember us, our team, coming into the dressing room and all be laughing and playing and being weird as it should be for 12 years old, for kids of 12 years old. And a few minutes later, the players of the team of Anderlecht came in, and their coach was very angry with them. I think they were even maybe younger than us. They were about 10 years old, something like that. And they all had to sit down, be quiet, and listen to their coach. And the coach wasn't happy with their performance. And it was only after a few minutes that we, our team, learned that they only won 7-1. And I remember that our team came out of the dressing room and we all looked at each other with an enormous amount of astonishment. And we ended up playing this Anderlecht team in the quarterfinals. And I think it's no need to say they trashed us. We had no chance at all. But the point that I want to make with this story is that I learned an important lesson that day, not only a lesson in football, but also an important lesson in life. And the lesson is that with attention to detail, discipline, professionalism, enjoying what you do, you can really go the extra mile. And I really try to apply this lesson into my own life. So thank you for letting me speak shortly about myself, and I want to thank you for your support, and I look forward to meeting you in real life. Thank you.
Enjoying what you do, to me, sums up successful Rotary activities. We do enjoy what we do, and we hope to see you quite a bit, both of you, in the coming months. Now, I know you've got to dash off to lectures, which is why you've been put on first. So with no more ado, we'll wave adieu. And you better get back to the reason you're really in London. Thank you. Varsi, have you managed to join us? Varsi is suffering from long COVID, but I see her on the list. I don't know whether she's able to join us.
Yes, I'm
Varsi, you have...
very pleased. Yeah. Thank you very much, President David. I'm very pleased to say that Emily is present with us today. I met her actually several years ago, and she was very enthusiastic about Rotary. She said she'll contact me. And then there was silence, and suddenly I heard from her. I was so pleased. And she said she's ready now to join us and become a member. And it's her first meeting today, and she's with us today.
Thank you very much indeed, Voss. That's Emily Diamini, if I pronounce that correctly. We hope to see more of you, Emily. We also have, I'd also ask Clive, could you introduce, Clive, first-time visitors? Have we any first-time visitors?
First-time visitors here today. I'm now looking at screen 1. I see nobody, and I don't recognize anybody as a first-time visitor. We have some visitors, but they've all been with us before. Oh, Freddie.
Yes.
Freddie Bishai.
Yes. Hello, I bring you greetings from the Rotary Club of Roding.
Nice to see you, Freddie. Thank you for coming along.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
And I think that's it for first time as President David.
So, thank you, Clive. I won't go around the other visitors for the moment because we have a lot of other conversational activity which will take some time. Firstly, I'd like to give you some good news. Is Duchess on the call?
She is.
Yes, I am, President.
Good. Thank you, Duchess. Well, Duchess is to be honoured today with the honorary freeman of the City of London. Now, we have many freemen of London, probably within the club, but we have, if any others, I don't know them, probably only one honorary freeman. You might remember Captain Tom Moore receiving his honorary freeman after his activities. An honorary freemen include many presidents and prime ministers. And for example, the founder of the internet, Tim Berners-Lee, was honoured by the city in this way. But today, Duchess Williams Alonga is going to be honoured by being presented with the Freedom of the City of London Award, which is the honorary award, I hasten to emphasise, at 2:30. And we all, as a club, congratulate you, Duchess. We're very pleased both for you and for all the organisations you represent, because of all the good work you have been doing during your life that has put you in the position of being recognised by the City of London, which is an organisation for which I think we all have great respect. If you're good for them, then that's good enough for us. Really, congratulations. Now, I don't know whether we have people have a glass to hand, and we won't do a toast, but if we could we all take wine or take a sip of something to congratulate Duchess.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Duchess.
Congratulations, Duchess.
Very well done.
So much.
Congratulations,
President David. Today is a humbling experience for me as well. As an honorary one, to be honest. And I give God thanks because it's just overwhelming. When I was told by the courts that I would be the first Bahamian female, and possibly the first Bahamian, because the history dates back to 1237. And there's one other person who's a gentleman who received this honor, could have been in any century or any decade. So it was just really touching. And I just give God thanks. And I also want to thank some of my fellow Rotarians who have been a tower of strength for me and who have supported me throughout my journey, and Vasi, you proposed me so many times for so many things that I know that, we have had, times whereby you were so strong-headed and stuff like that, but you're a phenomenal mentor. My journey in Rotary has just been phenomenal. And, past president, immediate past president Tim and Louis and Nikki, Chicago, Julian, you guys, words cannot express. I don't want to get emotional because I'm wearing makeup today for a first time in a long time, and I don't want to run into the ceremony, but all of the Rotarians, you've been really brilliant, and I thank you for sharing this special moment today.
Beautiful, Duchess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you so much, Duchess. And I do hope that you will give us the link to the YouTube. I'm trusting that they will record the...
Unfortunately, I wish I could invite all of you, but they only gave me a small amount of guests, and I had to tune into the Bahamas, and but they said it's not going to be filmed, oh
right.
Yeah, they said they don't film in the courts, so they said my guests can.
Well, they did for Tom. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Said they did for Tom Moore, but then I recall they did that outside of the court. Yeah, yes. You'll have pictures to show us anyway. And enjoy the afternoon and whatever you do afterwards as well. Thank you. I'd actually like to mention in the same context, not a member of the club, but a personal friend of Mary's and mine, Yvonne Connolly, who in the Queen's Birthday Honours received a CBE for her services to education in the UK. She was the first black head teacher in the UK. She came over on a banana boat just after Windrush landed. And she was one of Mary's colleagues at the as a schools inspector of schools at Islington. And so she has had a battle through her life to achieve the status of the CBE, which has been recognised today. And I hope that I can get Yvonne to speak to us later, but she's unfortunately not very well at the moment. Now I'd like to introduce Mo Ayaz, our member, to give us a brief statement. So, thank you, Duchess. I'd like to, Mo has a brief statement about his upcoming workshop. Workshop, is it, Mo?
It's a webinar, President.
Webinar, President, yeah.
Yes.
Tell us about your webinar at the virtual district conference this weekend.
Yes, it is. On Sunday, we have, as you know, over the weekend, the district conference on a virtual conference. and Tony Sharma, the immediate past district governor, and myself, we're working on a passionate peace project between India and Pakistan, and we've been given a slot to promote what we're doing, and also ask other Rotarians if they wish to get involved or they've got any contribution in terms of contacts or anything of that nature. So just to let Rotarians know that London and the district is right at the center of this worldwide project, which is based in Canada and British Columbia. Our chair is there, but the momentum is actually coming from the London district. So we just, come to celebrate what we're doing and also ask other Rotarians if they'd like to take part in this sort of journey and get involved, because not only am I in the most prestigious club, but we're in the most prestigious district. Thank you.
No, time and, we'll have the links through our own system. What time is your event?
Oh,
what time on Sunday?
Time, but I will send the link to our secretary, and hopefully via the club, everyone would have a link. And
thank you. Do we have Sabrina on the call?
Hello. Yes, I'm here. Hi, David.
Sabrina, would you like to say a very, very few words about your own workshop at the weekend and when that is as well, so that we can all join you in that?
Yes, so we are going to hold a webinar that's going to be in 2 weeks' time at the Rotary District Conference. And I will speak about Rotary's projects. My theme will be Rotary Nowadays. And we have other speakers that will speak about how Rotary was developed, how Rotary is today, the projects, the global projects, the local projects. We will have a Q&A session. So it will be really interesting. It's going to be a live webinar. So I invite you all to join it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us and we will answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. So when we come to the virtual district conference, I hope that our members will register en masse and be there to support you. We've had some charitable activity this last week. We announced it probably only about a week ago, actually. But we've had a golf match, a golf challenge match. And it was in aid of children's charities, specifically Life for Kids and Noah's Ark Hospice. We've got some success to report. I don't know whether, Hugh, could you be prepared to give us a number shortly? But our target was to raise £5,000, which could then be doubled by a trust of member Sir David Goward to £10,000. Hugh, can you tell us how we're progressing?
Yes, we're progressing very well. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
We can hear
you. Yeah. Well, we are 4,250 at the moment, and add that to David Goward's is £8,500 we're standing at the moment for Noah's Ark and for Lifeline for Kids, which is very excellent, and that is one of the best performances for a year or two. And monies are still being promised, so monies are still coming in. And hopefully, if anyone's listening who haven't contributed, that they might take this opportunity to further this amount, David. So it was an excellent result indeed, and we're currently standing with Sir David's contribution at £8,500. Yes,
Hugh, I believe that at a meeting this morning, the trustees agreed to double the contribution made by members.
Yes.
Is that correct? Or so in fact, for every £1 we give to this charitable activity through our company, our charitable fund, that will be doubled by our charitable trust. So that £1 becomes £2. That £2, yeah, sorry, well, that £2 then becomes £4 with the support of Sir David Goward. So let's make it that £5,000 figure, please. If we can just encourage people to take us from 4,250 up to £5,000, that will achieve a great deal. Thank you.
Really excellent for a few years.
Unfortunately, the president's team lost, which meant that the president's team not only had to put in some further payments, but also pay for lunch. Although we lost, and we, as a consequence of that, we made a donation, an extra donation to the Noah's Ark Hospice, which was being supported by the Vice President Ian's team. I think as Life for Kids was slightly ahead before the match started, we'll both be contributing about the same amount of money to each of those two charities. So thank you, everybody. But we just need that extra bit of money, please, if you haven't yet donated. Thank you. Are there any chairs that want to make a report? We have the Almoners report, which, Harry, are you available? I know we've had information that John Buchanan is back in hospital.
Yes.
He had another fall. We've had the confirmation that Vasi is suffering from long COVID. So we sympathize, Vasi, and we're so very pleased to see you online today. Are there any other Almoners comments that anybody has?
Sorry, can you hear me all right now? I think you've stolen my thunder. President, hello. Flo is at home. I've spoken to her, she's a lot better, but she did have some serious surgery. She's getting out for a walk, and I think she's got to go back to be checked up again, but at least she is recovering. You're right about John. I just had an extensive conversation with Mary. John did have a slight fall, and he's back in the hospital, sent back from the rehab place. He's hoping to get better soon, and they both very much want to get John home where he can receive the sort of full care of Mary. So I know that they're very much in our hearts. I've spoken, let's see who else. Spoken to Tim. For all those who don't know, he became a grandfather recently. I know he's on the, if he's not out golfing already, Tim's become a grandfather, so congratulations to him. I've also spoken to Gio this morning, who is okay, he is fine. I've spoken to Roy, and he's okay. He's got one or two health problems. I think both he and his wife Barbara have, but he's okay. And that's my report, President.
Thank you very much, Harry. I thought you might have a link problem. I'm sorry to make some of your statements for you.
No problems. I'm glad you're able to do so.
I'd like now to move on to other points. We have an election coming up in November, and the nomination forms have gone out for the officers' positions in the club. And if you have an interest in the running of the club, you should consider whether there is someone you would like to have as one of those officers, and if so, encourage a nomination. Julian, what is the closing date for nominations? 21st of October. Okay, so 21st of October, thanks Julian, and nominations to Julian, and please don't leave it to everybody else to do the work. Thank you. We will also, for the election, not be meeting in person. We will be using a postal ballot or certainly a process that allows everybody to vote confidentially, but not in the meeting. And I trust that no member will have a problem with us meeting with a postal ballot or voting through a postal ballot. I'm sorry. Visits to other clubs. Now, we've got quite some, there have been quite a lot of events going on this week. Robert Ghazi, Robert, would you like to give us a summary of your visits?
Yes. It was the institute which started from Amsterdam, and participation was very high, 1,300, and it went very well. And also the Red Bridge, as usual, and the district council.
I think we may have had other members attend the Amsterdam online, and if there are, perhaps they were just perhaps they just signal very quickly. But I know we had other members participating in that event. Are there any other particular exciting visits that people have done they'd like to let us know about?
Hi, yes, President David. I had the pleasure of attending the Bach Inside club meeting last week, whereby we had past Rotarian Rotary International First Lady Gay Maloney. She presented at Margaret's Club her experience. She shared with us her world tour experience during her husband's tenure last year, and it was absolutely amazing. Amazing is not even the word to describe how it was so wonderful, you know, because she shared her portfolio of photographs of the various countries they visited and highlighted really the outstanding work that Rotary is doing around the world. Okay, and when she came to London, she also shared with us her visit to, you remember the reception that the Rotary Club of London held at the Royal Overseas League with some of our members and the Rotaracts. She showed the pictures from there. She said that, you know, they received a very warm welcome. She also mentioned that their visit to London was also an historical one for the Commonwealth Day ceremony at Westminster Abbey, because apparently it's the first Rotary international president to actually participate in such an auspicious service. So she was really excited and overwhelmed about that. And to my surprise, I remember.
Thank you. No, I was thank you, Duchess. I was.
You're welcome. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. No. You were so enthusiastic about it. But I'm running a little bit late at the moment, and I want to move on to our speaker. But before that, can we all please toast the Queen?
Queen.
Those of you that have anything, yes. I saw Chicago had a virtual something in her hand for a moment. Oh, it was a cup. Right. So now the next item on the agenda is for Ken Giles to introduce our speaker. Ken.
President David, thank you. I'm delighted to introduce today's speaker, Bob Porter. He's the artistic director of the Brandenburg Choral Festival of London, and he's a practicing musician himself, and he also teaches. But above all, he's the founder of the largest and most significant choral festival in the country. A bit of background about how we came to meet Bob. My wife Olive and I first came across the Brandenburg when we were staying overnight in London. We were looking for a suitable evening musical event, and the idea of choral music in historic city churches greatly appealed to us. Their settings were such as St. Martin's in the Field and St. Catherine Cree, St. Stephen's Walbrook in the city. They're all delightful venues, and it's lovely to hear people singing in them. But it's been a long and metaphorical journey to today's talk. Having first engaged Bob's interest, we met to discuss further. This was early in the year when Bob came to visit a relative, excuse me, in Oxford, and we met him over coffee in a cafe in Oxford. And from there, he was due to speak to us at the Chesterfield in April, but unfortunately, we all know about lockdown. And of course, then, unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier on when we were introducing ourselves at the beginning, Bob went down with COVID-19. He had a pretty torrid time with that. And so therefore, the attempt to speak to us was put back until today. But COVID restrictions caused a slight rethink of how he's going to talk to us today. The title of today's talk, Culture, Commerce, Charity, and Moving the Brandenburg into a New Age. Bob will explain all about that in due course, because obviously you can't meet face to face in the presence circumstances, and Bob has had to overcome that in a very resourceful way. So, President David, I'd like now to hand over to Bob, please.
Thank you very much, Ken. President and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me. I just have to register my absolute fury that when Ken invited me to speak to you, he did mention a rather slap-up lunch. And I've been keeping an eye through the window for the delivery man waiting for my slap-up lunch. And I mean, you know, I thought an organisation like Rotary would at least stand behind its word. I'm quite disgusted.
The lunch will follow, don't worry.
No, I'm really pleased to be here with you. I have some long-term family connections to Rotary through my sister, so I'm very aware of all the good work you do, and I admire the organisation very much indeed. So I am have been a professional musician my whole life. I've never had a job in terms of employment. So that's one of my claims to fame. I'm not sure, but I've always I've managed to survive for quite a long time in the rather treacherous waters of the classical musical industry. And about 11 years ago, in 2009, I had an idea to set up a little festival. And we started with 3 concerts at St. Martin in the Fields. And they sold out. And we had some complaints from people who had not been able to take part. And so it grew and it grew. And if you know what exponential growth is, that's what we enjoyed. And so over the course of 11 years, we built up a huge festival from 3 concerts up to where in early part of this year of 2020 we were approaching 150 concerts a year. If any of you have been involved in event management of any kind, forget concerts, just think of events. You know how much work is involved in simply putting one event together, so you can get an idea of the scale of the operation. And curiously, it was actually quite successful. We managed to trade without any subsidy at all, which is remarkable in the arts. We did this through lots of different contacts and lots of different bringing a kind of a new concept to an arts organisation. Because when Ken asked me about the speaking, I came up with this a beautifully alliterative title of Culture, Commerce and Charity, because there are a lot of arts organisations that are fantastic in an artistic sense and dreadful in a commercial sense. And then there are some arts organisations that are very good commercially, but not really very up to much on the artistic side. And so finding a combination or a balance of those 2 things has been the challenge. You know, it's very easy to put on great concerts if you've got a massive budget because you can buy in better people. But it's a very tricky balance, which we managed to achieve, and through that, then we're able to introduce the 3rd strand I was going to mention of charity, because and I know this is something that's very close to your hearts, but with charity, you can either raise money one of 2 ways. You can ask a small number of people for a large sum each, or you can ask a large number of people for a small sum each. And that's what we did, because when we were doing 150 concerts a year, we had a huge footfall. So therefore, we used to link all our concerts to charities, and we probably we're probably averaging 30 or 40,000 a year. Is that a large sum? Discuss, but compared with 0, it's quite a large sum. So that's where we were at the beginning of this year, and I was feeling quite smug because it was going really rather well. And then, of course, there were 2 problems. One is that the country got COVID and I got COVID. And between them, it's rather knocked the stuffing out of everything. So as you're well aware, we're now no longer permitted to put on concerts, especially concerts of choral music, which has been deemed to be more contagious in a way of spreading this awful disease. And so we've gone from 3 to 150 and then back down to 0 right on the seat of our pants. We have no idea when this will end, so we have no idea how we'll resurrect it. And to be blunt, trying to resurrect something when it's been dead in the water for a year or more is going to be hard work. So we're sort of putting some plans in place for that, but that's impossible when we don't know when. So when I was coming through the COVID and getting better slowly, one of my colleagues, a guy called Matthew, who is the vocal consultant to the festival, kept on ringing me up and saying, Bob, we must do an online project. Everybody's doing it. And I said, no, I'm too exhausted. I can't even think about anything. And then he kept on ringing me, Bob, we have to do an online project. So I started in the sort of odd half hour I was thinking about work. I started looking online at the things that people doing. And it's really not very good. If I'm going to pick on Tim Waugh, I'm going to pick on you and say, if you happen to be a choral fanatic and you wanted to get involved in one of these online projects, what would happen is that the organisation would send you a recording played on a tin pot piano of the Mozart Requiem, first movement. And then you would sing the bass part, for example, of the Mozart Requiem into your phone whilst listening to it. You'd then listen back to it and be appalled how dreadful it was. And then you'd send it off and some whizzy engineers would slap it all together and create something which you would they'd send to you online, and that would be the complete project. Now for choral singers, that's pretty dispiriting, because the whole point of being in a choir is the music and the camaraderie. So my thought for today is about taking a real life project and turning it into an online project. What you can't do is just pick it up by the scruff of the neck, dump it on a website somewhere and hope it works. It's like you've got to completely reanalyze what the fundamentals are. So we invented this thing called the Brandenburg Camino. I'm sure most of you are aware of the Camino de Santiago de Compostela in northern Spain. It's a pilgrimage. And so this is this project, which is now taking up all our time. This is an allegory, effectively. It's a parallel to the pilgrimage that pilgrims make to go to Santiago. And along the way is where they learn everything. They don't learn when they get there, but it's talking to the other pilgrims, and it's the process that is the more important part. So along that thought, we have created this thing called the Camino. It's a cross between King's College, Cambridge, and the University of the Third Age. So we study over a period of 4 weeks. We study one particular piece of music, and we do make an online recording. I think Ken, you managed to send out our very first one, which was some Mozart, Ave Verum. That was sent out as a link, I think, so you may have seen that already. I have got one up my sleeve.
Yeah, it was.
Good. I've got another one up my sleeve just before when we get there. So we study a piece of music for 4 weeks, and within that we do lots and lots of extra activities. So we do full rehearsals, we do sectional rehearsals, we do lectures on the analysis of the music. The singers have individual voice coaching, because you can't. The problem with online is that there is a delay in the transmission. And it only has to be a fraction of a second but if you, Harry, if you and I were to try and count up to 10 simultaneously, we would get out of sync by the time we get to 3. Because you hear me delayed, so you delay 3. I hear your 3 extra delayed, so I now delay 4. It's chaos. So simultaneous music doesn't work online unless you've got incredibly expensive kit, which is called low latency. But that's very rare and very expensive. So all of our activities are done in musical terms with big groups are done muted. So people join in like that. But one of the things we can do is that we can have one-to-one sessions. So Matt, our vocal consultant, gives one-to-one singing lessons over the internet. And we do all sorts of other activities that are trying to replace the social element of being in a choir. If you sing in a, I don't know if anyone does sing in a choir, but if you do, then you enjoy the music, but you also enjoy the 15-minute break in the middle when you go and have a chat to Ethel and talk about your grandchildren or what the milkman's been up to or whatever. And often after a rehearsal like that, there'll be a whole bunch of people who go to the local pub, and so it becomes a much, it's the social event of the week for many people. And so we've tried to recreate all of those extra add-ons, as it were, to make it a richer and more fulfilling experience for people. And we even have our own wine bar. And so there are certain sessions in the fortnight when we get together in small groups. I said fortnight, I meant a month. It's 4 weeks. But we get together, there we are. We get together in small groups and we step into the wine bar. And if you're in a small group of 7 or 8, you can have a discussion because everybody can be unmuted. And so there's all this sort of little social cells sticking onto the whole project all the way around. So that's, we started that in July with the first step. We call a step a group of 4 weeks. And each one focuses on one piece. You've had the opportunity to see the Mozart Ave Verum, which was our first try at it. Then we moved on to one of the movements from the Fauré Requiem, the Agnus Dei, and that was with organ accompaniment. And we've just completed our third step, which is a piece by Bruckner, which is a cappella, which means unaccompanied, so just solo voices. Now, that's quite a big step, because if we were to record all your voices now and then mix them up, we would have a choir of sorts. So we have some very strong ones and some less strong ones, but making that work together is quite tricky. So there are quite a lot of disadvantages in working online with music. But then there are also other ways you can use the technology to get around problems that you would be finding in a normal situation. For example, in a moment, I'm going to play you our latest recording, which is this piece by Bruckner. It's about 3 minutes. It's called Locus Iste. It's a sort of it was commissioned for a new chapel being built in Linz Cathedral. And it's typically text in Latin, but it basically means God is here and this is a blessed sacrament. They're like a lot of music, it's written in a shape, a form, and this particular piece has 3 kind of sections, the beginning and the end, which are similar, and then in the middle there's a section, and I hope you listen to it in a moment, which is only for the top 3 parts, soprano, alto, tenor. And it's extraordinarily difficult because it's very, very difficult to keep in tune. The pitch drops in that passage and goes flat and horrible. So what we did was we create a lot of resources for people to record their version, their vocal part with, one of which was to have a piano playing the key notes that they would be singing at the beginning of each bar in their headphones while they're singing. So that meant that everybody could stay in tune. Now that's what we call cheating. You can't do it in a real concert, but because we are mixing the advantages and the disadvantages of the online system. So when you hear that, I'm certain you're going to be impressed with the intonation in the middle section, because it's bang on. That's kind of the story, really. It has been a real challenge, but the joy has been bringing people together from all over the country. We have a couple of Australians, we have a few Canadians, all of whom take part. Before the COVID situation, one of the spin-offs that the Choral Festival produced was a series of choral cruises. Excuse me. So we would all go off on a cruise together. Oh, anyone who wants to come. And we'd create a choir ad hoc from the people who've turned up. And there's one couple who, there's a guy who's a tenor who lives in London, and his partner is an alto, and she lives in Canada. And they see each other from time to time in London and Canada, not that often. They occasionally have been on a cruise together. And so they're actually doing the project at the moment, so they can actually see each other and be in almost the same room and joining in together. So it's been a great joy bringing people together from different countries, but also obviously across the country, where people are stuck and isolated at the moment. And so they can use their joy of singing in choral activities to bring them together with like-minded people. Yeah, that's the sort of the story so far. So I'm going to suggest, President David, if it's appropriate, if I could play just a 2 or 3 minute track, and then I'd be happy to take any questions after that.
Please do, Bob. We're really looking forward to hearing it.
Thank you. Now this is, I have to then make sure.
On the one you sent us before, there were about 80 people present, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how many you've got.
There's actually, on the current step, there's around 100, but not all of them are actually able to record an audio track and a video track. You have to record them separately, you see. And so some of them are on this one as audio singers, but not video. So there's a few. It looks a little smaller than 100, but anyway, I really hope you enjoy this. Here it should come. Can you give me a thumbs up as if you can see that? And
can see it, Bob. Yes.
Great. And do the same if you can hear it. I'm hoping you can hear this clearly. Okay. That's technology letting us down. Yeah. I'm going to suggest that I will send you the link for the Bruckner, which I know you'll enjoy, and let's just park that one for now. I'm so sorry. But I have just figured out that the IT guys have been moving all the files around. That's why I wouldn't find it. And I know you're on a strict timetable, so I would do questions for a couple of minutes and then allow you to crack on with your schedule.
Thank you, Bob. I will ask all members to actually check that link and hear it over their own headphones. It's much better sound quality, I think. And we look forward to receiving the new link, Bob. Right, questions, everybody. Clive, do you want to lead us through the questions?
Yes. Now, can I please say it is very difficult to spot everybody who wants to ask a question. People think I decide not to call them. It is not the case. It is that I haven't seen you. Now, I thought I'd cracked it by saying if you unmute yourself, you will come up on the list of participants that I have on the right-hand side of my screen. And it had been working, but last week somebody said they'd done that and it didn't work. But we'll have another go. So if you want to ask a question, please unmute yourself and it should come up on my screen on the right-hand side and I will call you. So please, if you have a question, please address them now. John Clements, I see you've a question.
Well, thank you very much for that. And I'm quite fascinated by this because my daughter-in-law is a pianist and an oboe player, and she's taken part in something in Lichfield of this nature, which she sent to me. But that aside, Was there some suggestion that St. Martin's in the Field wish to replace the work that you've been doing with them over recent years?
That's a very hot potato.
Sorry.
The background is that the music in general at St. Martin's historically was entirely tourist-led. So there were people promoting concerts that were only really interested in bums on seats. Now, bums on seats is important, but it's not the whole package, as I was trying to say earlier. And St. Martin's are taking the current situation where there's nothing happening. They're taking the opportunity to re-evaluate how they want to run their music. There are a few people who have become accustomed to promoting concerts there, and that has become their whole business, simply promoting 15 concerts a year at St. Martin's. And they have had their noses put out of joint because many of them are not going to be invited back in. But St. Martin's, what they're trying to do is to up the standard. And so some of the people who are being asked not to return because their standard isn't up to scratch are clearly unhappy and have been making a lot of waves. I am expecting that we will carry on in our very good relationship with them once we get back to post-COVID times. But it's there, St. Martin's also have a duty to maximize their commercial value, because sitting in Trafalgar Square, there is clearly a great commercial value. And all the time of the closure, they have been had huge costs to maintain a building like that. And so they've got a duty of care to the building, if nothing else, to maximize their commercial gain going forward. So it's the same balancing act that I was talking about earlier. There will still be lots and lots of concerts at St. Martin's with lots of very fine musicians.
Thank you very much.
Right, I'm now going to Harry Simmons and then Anthony Newton. Harry?
Bob.
Harry.
Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Definitely.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Good, great. I used to sing in a choir when I was really very, very young and thoroughly enjoyed it, and I love music. But when I try and sing now, I go totally flat. Don't know what to say. How would I manage without putting everyone out of joint?
Well, it's very simple, Harry. The strand of the Camino that I didn't mention earlier is it's a strand for people who love music and like going to concerts and like looking behind the scenes, which most of us do in all sorts of professions. It's called an associate membership, and for that, if I'm going to recommend that you join as an associate, and that gives you access to absolutely all the activities, but without the requirement for you to sing and record your voice. So that gives you all the fun without the pain. Then one of the things you can tack onto that would be a vocal workshop with my vocal consultant, because he's very, very good at helping people find their voice. And from that, you might then feel more confident and then join in as a full member. There's the plug.
Oh, what a great offer. Thank you very much indeed.
Anthony Newton and then Paul Wilson.
Thank you very much for that, Bob. I'm particularly interested in following Harry's point, because I'm taking singing lessons on Zoom and it's working fairly well up to now. Better than nothing anyway. But I'm interested in what you said anyway. My question was quite different.
If I could interrupt, Anthony, then I'm going to continue the plug and say that means you're ready to join us as a singer.
Well, I'd be glad to have details. Thank you very much.
I'm sure we can arrange that.
I can't read music. Now, my question was rather a very broad one. Apart from COVID, what do you think is the future of the classic music industry and classic music in this country altogether?
I'm not sure I know how to answer that question with the first clause, apart from COVID.
Okay.
I think COVID has devastated this country's classical music industry. I mean, I know of lots of international soloist quality musicians who are feeling very lucky at the moment because they've managed to get a delivery job with Deliveroo or Tesco's. And all the time that this goes on, more and more people will be out of practice and lose the drive to do it. I think COVID is devastating the industry and is going to continue to do so. I fear for survival. That's the dark side, I'm afraid.
But wouldn't you say for years, in any event, classic music sales and attendance at concerts have been declining?
No, I think for organisations that have moved a little bit more with the current trends, I think there's been very successful audience audience building in the classical music industry. Like any industry, the ones that thought they could carry on doing it the way they did it 50 years ago have struggled. But I think that I before COVID, I would have answered you in a very positive sense.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Paul and then Nikki Stone.
I think technology has let us down again because I haven't raised my hand at all. I don't know what's happening there. But I would like to say that I actually did click on the link that came with our bulletin earlier and watched the concert there, and it is fabulous. It really is fabulous. And I do recommend everybody that actually does that, clicks on it and has a look themselves. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki, you.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good. I studied at Marlborough College, but only in summer school with singing and songwriting and producing and that sort of thing. So basically what you said to Anthony is, this could actually be a good opportunity to join you guys as an amateur and just have fun with it as well. Would that be a good plan?
Oh, totally. I mean, all the people who are singing in the Camino project at the moment are amateur choral singers.
Right.
No, they're all amateur. They're just missing their regular choirs.
Yeah.
And so this is an opportunity to get to join in and get into it. Yeah, I mean, there are lots of ways of engaging so that we have some very experienced amateur but semi-pro level singers, and some who are very inexperienced. And so we've got safety nets to make sure that we can tailor it to your level of experience. Drop me an email and I'll tell you more about it happily.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And do come to the wine bar.
Tim Moore.
Thank you, Bob, for what you said, because it's very interesting. I would ask you, are you the only people doing this? Or are many of the choral activities actually taking this sort of technology on? Because there is a technology issue here, and you made the point that you have the piano coming in. How difficult is it for other people to actually join in and do things that you've suggested?
Do you mean to join in as an individual or other groups?
Other groups.
No, there are quite a lot of other groups creating these recordings. But as I was saying earlier, when I looked at the concept of launching something online, everyone else simply takes the recording process, which is fundamentally very dispiriting for musicians, because you're not singing with people, you're singing by yourself. And then they take that as the whole product. What we've been trying to do is to spread that and make it a far more of an online community of people that are interested in singing and music.
I mean, your technology has been spread, has it? Or are you the only people using that technology? That's
no. There are other people using similar technologies, yes. Okay. Yeah.
No, I see nobody. President David, back to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Clive, and thank you very much indeed, Bob. I did actually have a question as to how you make the numbers work. You must have income from somewhere, but that is for another day. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the club for your presentation today. You've demonstrated enormous qualities of persuasion, participation, but above all, perseverance. I like the idea of your pilgrimage. Of course, I was drifting off along Canterbury Tales on the way, but I know that when you get to the destination, I think you have arrived, and your members have arrived at a destination or the destinations, because you've produced some phenomenal work. You've given us the opportunity of seeing interpretations we couldn't hope to have seen at St. Martin's in the Fields or other venues, because of course we wouldn't be there. And I really do think you have achieved a great deal. How you've done it, how you've kept your group together, how you've kept yourself together, I can only imagine. And I think actually through your work, the piece that comes to my mind is the New World Symphony. Not that you can sing it, but you are creating a symphony for the new world post-COVID. And we can do nothing but wish you all the best for your future activities. And we hope and expect to hear a lot more from you.
Could I just give you,
you may answer.
Could I just give you 10 seconds? I've found it.
Yes.
Literally.
Oh, right.
10,
yeah, please.
10
Yeah.
seconds.
Yep, we're in time. We can do that. The screen's open, but we've just got... there we go.
Audio?
We can hear it, yeah.
Audio, not visual.
Doesn't matter.
Enough. I will make sure you get a link for that. 100 people.
That was beautiful.
All recorded in their own homes.
Amazing.
Combined.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank you again, Bob. There's hope for the Rotary Club of London Choir yet. We must start working on it. And I'm looking now, of course, towards Anthony and Nikki and others who will be learning the lessons from yourself.
Excellent.
But thank you very much. It just leaves me with the pleasure of presenting you with your speaker certificate. If we're meeting in the club, this is just evidence you actually did come to us rather than spend all your time in the nearest wine bar. But I'll be sending that to you at least digitally in the next day or two.
Thank you.
And thank you again. We'll just move on now to the conclusion of the meeting. I missed the birthdays earlier through time, and I'd just like to acknowledge, I don't know whether they're online, that it was the birthdays of Christina Moseni on the 12th today, and Ritu Paraha tomorrow. Are either online?
Neither of them. Neither are online, present, David.
Okay, thank you. We'd also like to, we've received apologies from Sean and Amy, our global scholar from last year, who are leaving the country this week and wish to give us their thanks and to be remembered by us. The next meeting is of a similar theme. It's Catherine McDowell, CBE, who is the managing director of the London Symphony Orchestra, and she's going to talk about the impact of COVID. Now, with an orchestra, you have probably a lot more financial commitments than a choir. So how on earth the LSO is coping with COVID, I don't know. But next week, we will be able to find out. So please join us next week for that. That then leaves me, I believe, with just the final toast to give you, which is to Rotary and peace the world over. So charge your vessels and let us join in our toast. Rotary and peace
the world over.
over.